Hey guys, this is Felly. This video I will be showing you how I color in Photoshop. So that will be starting from the base, shading, and highlighting. I will be using Photoshop CC 2018, and as far as I'm concerned, I believe most of these tips do apply to other programs, but I can't say for sure since I only really use this and possibly Procreate and Adobe Animate. But if you want, follow along and let's get into it. Now, okay, at first I'm gonna give you a quick, simple explanation. So, line art here. The first thing I usually do is after it's drawn out, I select everything outside of the line art. Then I usually go to modify and expand the selection so it goes like a 1 pixel into the line art. And then I hit inverse, so then only the line art is now selected. You may have to go in with the lasso tool to clean up if not all the lines are connected, if there's any gaps. But this basically helps so I can drop a solid color on the whole thing. So let's do a little cleanup, make sure there's no leaks, and then go ahead and pop another layer under your line art. Make sure that top line art layer is set to multiply. So now I dropped in the base color, and I'll go ahead and choose different skin tones for everybody. And this is how I quickly do flat colors for the whole piece. And see, and once you got the colors you want as your base, then I go ahead and take care of everything else. So that's any other items, hair, eye color. You know, you basically want to get all the base colors for all parts of your picture laid out first. I mean, you don't have to go in order, but you know, it helps to be a little organized. So I'm probably not gonna do examples on all of these heads, but we will go ahead and do the one in the center. We're gonna do the little girl with the glasses. So, and also a reason why I color the whole thing first, it's easier to select the whole thing afterwards, and then color in the parts you just need. Unless you want to spend time using the lasso and magic wand to highlight a whole section and then do it. So we're getting there, almost got all the individual parts colored. Lips done. Now we can move on to either shadows or highlights. Now for everything I'm gonna do on a separate layer. So those base colors are on its own layer, and then highlights and shades will be on its own layer as well. So let me just finish cleaning this up. And I'm going to use the lasso tool to mark out where I want the shadows to go. I mean, you can do the same thing as filling in the colors and color in with the paintbrush, but I like seeing it before I drop color into it. So I will use the lasso tool to mark out the whole area. And as you see, I'm not really care about staying within the lines, because since I did the base color, I can use the magic wand to subtract the excess outside of it. So now I will set up another layer. We're gonna make that multiply, and I usually use not a super dark shade, like a light gray, and it will add depth to the color that's already there on your base layer. And now I'm gonna do a highlight layer. First, let's mark out the selection. These are just, I'm just doing some quick random areas where I think there would be some highlight. Once I get done picking all the areas I think should have some highlight, just gotta pick a color, switch to the overlay. Now as you can see, it may not be right away, but you can lower the opacity on it to get it to a desirable shade, or you can just pick another color altogether. But when you're using overlay, you can even use the base color, but it may have a high contrast. This is what some people call in the industry layer magic. So I even add highlights in the shade area to give it more pop. Depends how detailed you want to go. Okay, this is some may call it gradient cuts, but I still kind of feel like it's a variant of cell shading. And that is the basic approach to how I color in Photoshop. But let's try another example. Alright, now let's get into a deeper example. First, let me find some line art I actually like. This is art of SVS. I'll put the link in the description. First, I'm going to clean up the line art a little bit since I didn't have a high-res image. And I just yanked this. I'm going to clean it up just a tad bit. I'm selecting the outsides and then inversing it so I can drop the flat color. Now some people just use the paint bucket, but I like using gradient so that way it has a gradual shade. And the same deal, I will use the lasso tool and block out my areas for my first layer set to overlay. And you see, this is just one color that I'm using, but since the background color is set to gradient, it's going to have a different effect on it when it lays over. So this is how I initially start. I always usually start with a gradient that goes from semi-light to dark and then do an overlay over it. And then kind of block in all the highlights. So since we're using a thing and he's got a rock texture, I'm gonna try to emphasize that with the highlights. Now this is a second layer of overlay. Some artists will paint everything on the same layer, but then if you don't like it or want to edit it or alter it, it makes it too hard to do it when you have a bunch of things you want to keep on the same layer. So I will do multiple layers to really give depth to it. I believe right now we're on the third layer of using overlay. And if you can see on the right, I'm using a lighter color. I'm using almost like a pinkish gray, but I have the opacity lowered so it's not as vibrant. You can get a cool effect. You see right now I'm overlaying on areas that had an overlay in the other layer but also didn't. So it gives it a two-tone effect in that section. And this is one way I do it. Sometimes I don't use layer settings and just naturally pick all the right colors. But this is my default. So now I'm gonna do a multiply layer for shadows. Because yeah, it's got some dark areas, but they're not vibrant enough. They don't pop. Which I would say when you're coloring line art that's this heavy, with inking and hatching and all that, it's not to go crazy because you don't want to take away from it. But now I'm just trying to get more of a 3D feel to the rocks. So, well, I did forget to do the base colors for everything else that wasn't a rock. And it's baby blue blue eyes. See, and then some highlights. And basically, you could stop here. I mean, unless you want to go crazy. I'm not gonna really go over second light sources, but I will show you this quick tip. This line art you saw is very detailed. Now, if you wanted to get rid of it, if you go to channels and on the RGB channel, hold down the Windows key if you got a PC keyboard, and it'll select everything that isn't black. And you can hit delete on the line art layer and then not have any of it there. As you can see. So now I can actually color the line art if I wanted to. Add effects to it, change it up. Maybe I'll do a video going more detailed on tricks you can do to clean up your line art. Let me know in the comments below if that's something you would like. And that'll be it for this video. If you want a more in-depth video on coloring, I can do so. Just let me know. And until the next one, if you like this, hit subscribe, like, and hit the bell, and we'll see you on the next one.